More than that, with Gia Peppers was really dentsu's kind of response in what was happening in 2020 in the United States with the racial reckoning. And several leaders at Dentsu came together and we thought, what can we do as an advertising agency to answer the call? And we wanted to come up with a solution that would really hit on three objectives. The first one, we wanted to disrupt the advertising supply chain as we know it by investing into minority-owned businesses. We wanted to create a custom long-form content platform that would really tell authentic stories for Black Americans that our clients' partners could very easily integrate into. And we wanted to make sure we were doing that with a diverse production crew. And lastly, we wanted to, of course, drive brand lift, impact, and results for our clients, but also have an impact on society in a positive way. And we developed this amazing coalition of several people who are on the stage today, plus more, to make this come to life. And so More Than That with Gia Peppers is an audio series. It also is a podcast that you can find on any podcast platform. And the show is sponsored by several of our Dentsu clients, Procter & Gamble, of course, being one of them. General Motors, Kroger, and MasterCard also sponsor the show. There are 20-minute episodes that cover different topics that are really important to the Black community. And our sponsors are integrated through in-episode brand messaging, and that's supported by a media plan with 4 different Black-owned radio networks across the country. So we have AURN, Radio One, Spot Set, and also a smaller network, Cafe Mocha Radio. And the show is written and produced by a 95% BIPOC crew. The host, of course, the guests, the executive producers, the writers, and the showrunners all identify as BIPOC. It's been such a success. We've had 3 seasons. As Gia mentioned, we had 1 limited series on TV. Our 4th season launches this week. We're really excited. Our media is live. Gillette is the sponsor of our first episode. And we've delivered over 1 billion impressions across audio, linear, digital, and social platforms. And most importantly, the show has invested $14 million directly into Black-owned businesses, and we're on track to increase that to $16 million after this season.
I love that. It's my favorite little stat. And also, there's 16 million coming to Black-owned businesses. It's so important. Now, I've got to ask the rest of this incredible panel, why did your organizations feel it was important to sign on for this program, which, again, it's a first-of-its-kind approach. It could have gone either way. Why was it important for you to take the risk and really be a part of this? And Leela, I'll start with you.
Yeah, I think my team was here at its inception. It was before I was in this role. And when I asked them the question about what excited them, they said this was literally something that had never been done before, an innovative approach. But the biggest thing that they said was we did it with competition. There were outlets that theoretically would be competing with one another that came together because we needed the content. It was the right thing to do. And we had never seen that level of collaboration to do something so innovative that somebody might want to say, no, I want that for myself. But we did it for the right reasons and the greater good, and look where it has gotten us. So the innovation part of it, everything, just chef's kiss on it all.
Amazing. I love that. What about for you, Chesley?
So it was really an instant decision, right? Because it was the summer of George Floyd. We had an advertising agency that was willing to put something together, put some muscle behind their comments. So making slogans real and cooperating with people that we've known, for 20 plus years, we know are good partners. Even though we're competition, we're complementary in many ways. And so it was an instant decision. Let's do it. Let's make a difference and let's make some money. Let's prove that this works. Instant.
I love that. Josh.
Yeah, I mean, look, as Urban One being the largest Black-owned, Black-targeted company in the U.S., we always have an obligation and a responsibility to tell these stories that are often underrepresented, right? So immediately, like Chesley said, Dentsu came to the table, Procter & Gamble, and General Motors, MasterCard, Kroger, right? And we just obviously jumped right in, and it was an easy yes. And then speaking of, being a first-of-its-kind approach, from the radio side at Radio One, I've been at the company 20 years, and I can't remember a time ever when we ran long-form audio talk content on music stations. It has literally never been done before. So it's an opportunity to really just do something really unique, out of the box, and tell these impactful stories at the same time.
Oh, that's amazing. I think I've never even realized that would be that's the first of its kind. I knew it was a first of its kind show. I didn't realize that was the reason why.
Music stations, we don't do that, right? You don't play 20-minute long podcast content on music stations, right? It was, we had to get the programmers on board.
Yeah.
It was a lot of conversation, but it was meaningful and important, and we had to do it, and here we are.
I will
love
say
that.
too,
And
just
it
to
was-
jump in. Oh,
I was going to say it was so helpful we had Gia.
Yeah.
Right?
Thank you.
That was a selling point. When we had Gia there,
Thank
it was
you.
really easy.
Thank
yeah,
you.
and jumping in too, I didn't mention it earlier, but Urban One is also the production company that works with us, 1X Studios, and I think that was also a first of its kind approach that we took with 1X, where they said, we don't really do these kind of production company deals with dentsu, but we're going to come on board. We're all going to do this together, and I think that was really amazing, and we've been doing it for 4 years now, which just is a testament.
I love that. I love it so much. When you think about the results, you talked a little bit, Simi, about some of the results you've seen from this show, but I would love to hear from the rest of the panel. What are some of the results you've seen, and what are you most proud of those results? Leela? Yeah.
All right.
I like it.
So some of the initial brands, I think it was Charmin, Bounty, Puffs, Pampers, I think My Black is Beautiful. All of those brands, to a T, have seen increases in consideration and recommendation. And what we strive for is to get more users into our brands so that we can grow markets. And it was so successful at doing that. And I think what I'm most proud of is we took a chance on something that we knew would work, but to see those results come through in a way for those consumers, a consumer that we're really trying to reach, was great. So I'm super proud of the team and super proud of everybody up here.
That's amazing. That's amazing. What about for you, Josh Cheshire?
So from our standpoint, we don't run the programming because we don't own stations. We're a network.
Right.
And so on our network, what we were responsible for was TuneIn. And so we ran TuneIn, listened to this program across, I don't remember how many, but hundreds and hundreds of stations. And if we're doing it now, it's going to be across 6,000 stations because we've grown in that kind of way.
Whoa.
But it was easy to do that. It was a program easy to support and easily relatable to our audience. So tune in. Listen to
Yes.
Gia Peppers.
Yes, everybody listen.
For me, from a results perspective, how you really know something like this is working with us at Radio One is because, so we've been running it across stations in all of our markets, right? 13 markets we have stations in. I hear from the local program directors of these stations about how meaningful and impactful the content is on their station, how they hear from their listeners. It's a conversation that happens throughout the organization. So we're doing something and having positive results when I'm constantly hearing about that. And they're talking about the people that they hear from.
Wow.
Right? So radio is really reaching, and this content is reaching people.
I love that. I love learning so much about the show on the panel because Simi and I are so in it. Like, we are trying to book guests, get the questions right, do all the things we rarely get to hear about the impact. And I started in radio as an intern at WPGC in DC. So to know that radio is getting supported with these dollars, but also my voice is being played on a station I used to intern at is just such a full circle moment for me. And I just love that I'll be in North Carolina with my grandparents or somewhere with my cousins, and they'll be like, oh, I heard you on the radio. I'm like, what was you doing? Okay. I love that. Makes me so happy. So I'm so happy that it's growing like this. Oh. Now, for everyone here, and Timmy, did you want to add anything that you're most proud of in the results?
Yeah, I mean, I think I talked about the investment, which is probably the biggest thing. But I will say, in addition to a lot of the brand results we've seen, we've also seen this kind of attitudinal qualitative shift, which has been interesting for brands. So one of the biggest things I always like to also say I'm proud of is we saw a 46-point lift that the brands that sponsor more than that with Gia Peppers respect my community and culture, and that's coming directly from the Black audiences that we're surveying. And so I think it's just kind of all bringing it together of like, it's authentic, it's working for brands, it's working for people, it's working for from the dollar side too. So it's just another stat I like to add in there.
Nice. It's working. I'd love to hear that. Now, for everyone here, why is it important for brands to drive, support, and really get behind economic empowerment initiatives. What challenges did you face early on, especially with this show? And how can we continue to do this on a larger scale? This is a long question, but first one was, why is it important for brands to drive and support economic empowerment initiatives? And for the people who might want to do the same thing, what would you tell them about the challenges of getting something like this done?
Yeah. I think about it a little bit in reverse. Like, we got into this programming because it was right for our brands.
Right.
So, like I said, our goal with Procter & Gamble is to grow markets. That is what we're 1 or 2 share in most of our categories. So it is our obligation to grow markets because that's where we all win. And what we know is that relevant content like this that we place in resonant context, like these stations, inspires more purchase intent. It's like a 37% increase in purchase intent and almost a 50% increase in consumer trust. That is business results, right?
Wow.
So that's why we do it. The icing on the cake is that we can provide the economic empowerment. Hearing you say from start to finish, we are working with people of color to produce that. That is economic empowerment that comes off of the business results that we're able to drive. And the challenges you talked about is there is not enough of this great content. The business results are there. We want all of this content that we can get because we want our brands in it. We want our brands next to it. It brings in consumers. It drives trust. Good business results, and then icing on the cake of being able to help the community. You could not ask for more than that.
Literally, you cannot ask for more than that. That was natural.
what I did
too.
there?
You didn't
I
even
like
do
how
that
you
on
did
purpose.
that.
She didn't even do that on
She
purpose.
didn't- it just came out. It just
because
flowed.
it's more than that.
It's a little more than that. You understand what I'm saying? No. Chesley or Josh, did you have any challenges initially? And then again, why is this so important that we continue to support economically empowering initiatives?
So let me say, I mean, we create programming, but kudos to Urban One to be able to create programming during a pandemic, a new type of programming during a pandemic.
Yeah.
They really stepped up and did that, and we did everything we could, to support that. But that was really challenging, right? A different mission. But from our standpoint, no, we didn't have any challenges. Since you had that heavy lifting, we didn't have any challenges. We just wanted to tell everybody that we knew and could hear our, ads that Gia Peppers was on the air. It was new, relevant, resonant content. Listen to it. Tune in and listen to it.
I love that. Thank you for always shouting me out, Chesley. You make me feel so special.
That too.
I appreciate you. Josh, what about that?
I don't know if I should be singing or.
I know, I'm like, happy hour has started. Don't worry, y'all. We're about 15, 20 minutes out from ours, okay? Go ahead.
No, look, the challenges, and I alluded it to a little bit before, we've never had audio, like talk, long-form content on the station. So it was a lot of conversation initially with the local program directors, with our stations, really getting them on board and seeing the vision, right? But when we had great agency partners, right, and brand partners on board with it, we pushed it through, made it happen, and here we are 4 years later continuing it. So that was a little bit of the challenge at first, but we got past it, and now we just need to keep telling the story like we're doing at places like this, right, to keep it going. And dentsu has really laid the groundwork and set the stage for other holding companies and other agencies to really do the same, right? I mean, when I walk into rooms at other holding companies, I use this as a case study, right? Our teams use this as a case study for like amazing things that we can do together if we really collaborate, right, and come together.
Love that.
And I'll build a little bit. We teach at Procter & Gamble something we call the 4R framework. So for them to evaluate opportunities in the work that they're doing on those 4 Rs. And this program checks it all. Reach, you've just talked about how many consumers we're reaching and expanding even more, it sounds like, to even more radio stations. Representation is everywhere. And that's both representation in you, but also representation at the agency partners and who's doing the work. And then you've got the relevance that we talked about. And it clearly is resonating with consumers. So think about those 4 Rs when you're evaluating opportunities, and this is check, 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 check on that.
I love that.
I just want to add one more thing, too, because I think it was so important that dentsu had the vision, the idea, and the intentionality, right? Because you guys were going to not make this happen.
Yeah,
right?
I would agree.
I mean, you were like, this is going to happen.
Yeah.
You want to do it the easy way or the hard way, but it's going to happen.
Yeah, and I think
really made a difference.
It's a great lead-in, too, to kind of what this comes out of Dentsu Good. It's a small accelerator within the agency. And I think we have this really amazing mindset of like the general market, as sometimes our clients are defining it, is changing. The way America looks, the way we identify ourselves, the way we think about ourselves is completely changing. And so I think it's how do you as an agency innovate and bring people together and come up with solutions that really can work for our brands, for the agency, but ultimately for society. And this is a great example. And to your point, all we want to try and do is to get other holding companies and other clients and other partners to do this and to do it for more communities that aren't getting the same benefits. And so hopefully this is a great stage to try and make that happen.
Yes, and I say this all the time, but I think it's so important that Dentsu Good and partners who are up here representing on the stage continue to do this work and get behind this work, especially in a time where the pendulum swung back so far. Like these initiatives that we started were intentionally for diversity, equity, and inclusion. The fact that it's like now a bad thing to want to be a part of that is so scary. But I think for Dentsu to say, forget the noise, we are going to stay on the side of good and empowering and moving forward. And for all those brands here represented, I think that's so important. How is that for you all at P&G and all, you know, what is it like in this time exactly?
Yeah, I would like someone to come up to me and say business results aren't what we want. Like this gets results. We've just talked through what all those results are. There's no argument with that, right? That's not DE&I. It's good business. Our stock price is looking pretty good right now.
I know that's right.
And we remain committed to doing this kind of work because it's right for the brands, it's right for the business, and then the force for good comes out of that.
I love that. I love that. Now, okay, unless you guys had anything to add there. Okay, perfect. So going there, are we still seeing investment support for these types of programs? And if not, what do you hope to see more of? I know we're expanding a little bit. Can we talk about that as well?
Sure, I can jump in. Thank you for the lead-in. But yeah, we're excited. I think to your question of investment, I think in general, like you said, the pendulum is kind of swinging. And even actually somebody walked up to me today and said, there was so much DE&I programming at Cannes 2 years ago and it's really dropped. And I said, come to our panel because it's still here.
Yes.
And so I think that's the one thing. It's about keeping forward and keeping movement. To your point, we are currently developing a Spanish language show that will air on Latinx-owned radio. We're taking the model.
Woo! Yeah,
Thank you. So yeah, we're really excited to do that and just kind of to keep forward and finding those opportunities and creating more coalitions of partners who just want to do this great work. But it definitely took a lot of work. I will give so much credit to everyone at Dentsu. I will say the one thing that I love about the show that I always say is it is the model of one Dentsu. Dentsu Media, Dentsu Creative, Dentsu Studios, ICUC, Dentsu Good, Dentsu Japan, Canada, and the US all touch this one program. And all of those people fought so hard for months this year to get it to where it is. And to your point, we're not going to give up. And we have amazing partners who are on that path. But we're excited. And I think we should be expanding it to more audiences and more groups as much as we can.
100% agree. I think, like I said, there is not enough of this good content out there that for Procter & Gamble that our brands can be in and around. So the more that we can do, the more we will take because we've had to create some of it ourselves, but the more we can find it in other places, the better off we are.
I love this. And I want to add real quick, Shirley Williams, who is our showrunner for More Than That Season 4 is here. Stand up, Shirley. We love you.
I was looking. I'm like, where's Shirley?
She's behind the
camera.
Behind the camera hiding out. But I have to shout out also to all the teams at Urban One and 1X Studios as well. Without them, we wouldn't be able to make this show. I mean, we're on calls all the time trying to speak through ideas, who to talk to, because it's amazing to be able to produce episodes like this, but we only have 20 minutes. So we have to get people who are exceptional speakers, who know what they're talking about, who do the work, but also represent the reach. And so we have an interesting challenge every time we come up with them, but it reminds you of the power of creativity and also the power of being able to give someone a platform that may have never had it before. And then also talk to people differently. Like Master P was on season 1 talking about climate change. You never would know. He's actually very passionate about climate change because he's the unofficial president of New Orleans and they've been through so many disasters. So rebuilding and what that looks like is really important. So we just love to be able to do that on the editorial side as well. So shout out to you, Shirley. Woo! Now, as we wrap it up, I can't believe that, we're getting to season 4. And happy Juneteenth to everyone who celebrates, especially to everybody who's, hey, what gang in the building? I see you. Okay. So the last question is, what's one impactful or personal moment that you've experienced that really just touched your heart that was a result of working on this show? And Josh, and then I'll go down. I want to switch it up.
Yeah, thank you. So, for me, it's really when I think back, it's not often that I get to be a part of something like this from the very, very beginning. Like, usually you have brand partners or agencies that come to you with a fully baked idea, right? And it's like they just need a distribution, they need help, maybe you need to do a little bit. But I was on the very first call for More Than That before it was even called More Than That. You remember we had a different
Project
name?
Booker?
Well, it's known
Project
as
Booker.
Project
Something like that.
Yeah, well,
Project
it's known
Booker.
Project
Was it
Booker,
Project-
but
it
we
was-
even had another name for it too. Like there were a couple. So from the very beginning. So my personal moment is just something so impactful that I was able to be a part of from really day one on that very first call, and then to see what it's become today, right? And everyone who's touched it and is involved in it and everything it's become, that really, when I think about it and sitting up here now, is very personally impactful for me.
Amazing.
Yeah, so our company's been one of the founding members of NABOB, National Association of Black-Owned Broadcasters. And National Association of Black-Owned Broadcasters leaned into this initially when it was called Project Booker.
Yes.
And we've worked on a lot of different issues over 46 years as NABOB, but this issue, this discussion brought everybody to the table.
Wow.
Everybody was at the table. Everybody was committed like I've never seen before. It was a call to action, and we could do something. And we knew we had to make it work to prove to advertisers that this was worth the investment. And seeing the quality of the product that was created, it takes a lot of hands on deck, right? A lot of work. Understandable, because you don't get good stuff from nothing.
Right.
So that was really, that we could do it.
Yeah.
That we could do it up and down the supply chain. We could check all the boxes. So that was really meaningful for me.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
And I'll build on that with the quality of the product. So I asked my team this last question, and I said, I'm doing this panel, and this is the last question. And one of my colleagues, Eric Austin, talked about the Juneteenth episode last year that was Sam Collins and Galveston, and really educated on the true unknown story about Juneteenth, right? Like, if you have not looked at that or listened to that episode, please go back and listen to it.
Yes, celebrate Juneteenth with More Than That.
The words that he was so affected by that quality content that is educational but really tells the story of us in such a true and impactful way. He was just taken aback by, and I love that episode. I think it's awesome.
It's one of my favorites too, because we learned so much about why Galveston was the last city and how the soldiers actually did have to go through blockades and over a bridge, and the environmental problems that faced those last group of people to know that they were free. It's really such a great episode. So if you ever want to know about the hidden history behind Juneteenth, check it out. We're streaming everywhere on podcasts. Okay, go ahead, Simi.
Yeah, I think I'm going to probably build a little bit on what Josh said. I think, to your point earlier too, we're so in the weeds of the show. We're pitching, we're developing, we're coming up with the creative. I'm literally trafficking. My team puts it up on podcasts. We're so in the weeds. And to be here and to be on this stage, but most importantly, to meet people from all of these organizations who touch the show, who work on the show, to see talent walking the streets of Cannes that we've interviewed for our episodes, that I've listened to their stories, and they don't know who Simi Bargava, executive producer, is, So I think just seeing just how big it really is has been so impactful for me, especially being here. The show has touched hundreds of people. We reach 1 in 3 Black Americans, but you don't really get it when you're so deep in it. And I think that's been incredible. I had a different answer before this week. And then when this happened, I was like, I got to change it, because this has just been amazing. And even, being on this stage has been great with everyone. So, yeah.
It's been so good. I think my favorite moment, other than the 16 million that will be invested back into Black-owned businesses, is just knowing that people can have a touch point for so many incredible conversations, and just knowing at the end of the day, if you are inspired by a conversation about climate change, the maternal mortality rate, whatever it is, the intention of the title, more than that, was to remind people that even though in 2020 and 2021, Black people in this country were so tired and so anxious and so upset, we were more than what societies told us. We were more than our anger, our pain, our trauma, and we were everything that we wanted to be. So it was time to have the conversations about what we could be. And so I think that's my favorite part about the show. So y'all make sure you guys tune in, because we are back again for season 4 this Saturday.
Yes.
Saturday, and then Monday it's going to be streaming everywhere.
Yeah, no, Saturday. We'll be
Saturday
up on
everywhere.
all podcast platforms Saturday. We'll be running on stations this weekend. The episode is sponsored by Gillette. It's all about the mind, body, and spirit for Black men. It's
Celebrating Black men's mental health
Celebrating Black
month.
men's mental health month,
Hey, Charles. Hey, shout out to the Black men in here. We love y'all.
So it's great, and we're really excited. Kroger and Buick are back as well this year, and so we're excited for this year and looking forward to 2025 and continuing. I am waiting for that $20 million investment number. That is my goal for this show.
Let me hold some.
And hopefully next year we can hit that. So
Thank you all so much. I have so enjoyed this panel. Can we please make some noise for these incredible partners? Thank you.
Fabulous moderator.
Thank you. And
Thank you.
That's it, right? We're not doing Q&A.
we can do.
Does anyone have any
Q&A?
questions or
I think we have time.
anything before we just 5 minutes before we get to our actual happy hour? Does anyone have any questions for the panel about process structure? Anything editorial? Don't be shy. This is the time.
In the front.
Question. Hi.
Hello, my name is Antonio Dixon, and I'm a social entrepreneur and operating partner at a venture capital firm called Chanzo Capital. How do you guys connect with early stage social entrepreneurs and so on? How do they get in touch with you?
I can answer that one. So for the show, because it's out of dentsu, first off, I can totally connect with you at happy hour. But if anybody's interested, we have an email, info@morethanThatShow. You can talk to us about what you'd maybe want to partner with, what you'd want to do. We're always looking for more diverse partners to bring to the table. We're always looking for talent to feature in our episodes. So absolutely, you can reach out to us at Dentsu Good. A lot of people do go to Gia, which is great.
It's amazing.
And then Gia brings them usually to me.
Yes.
So you can absolutely come to me and we can have that conversation. We're always looking for more people to partner with.
Hey, let's go. Okay, New Orleans in the building. All right, well, if that is it, we thank you all so much. You can follow at More Than That Show on all socials if you want to find out more about the show and support our launch. And we just thank you again for being here. And let's get to our happy hour. All right, let's go. Thank you.